Hello, everyone, and welcome to Versent's AI webinar series. My name is Jaden Kerr, a senior software engineer here at Versent, and I'll be your host for the next 3 weeks. Thanks for joining us as we explore the ever-evolving world of AI. In this series, we'll dive into what's possible today, what's coming next, and how to navigate AI responsibly. Each session, we look at real-world use cases, practical frameworks, and expert insights to help you move forward with confidence. Today's session will explore how combining geospatial analysis with natural language processing empowers anyone in your organization to generate powerful spatial insights without needing deep technical expertise. Here are today's speakers, Dima Mar, Principal Consultant, and Nicholas Burridge, Senior Engineer, on their talk, Navigating Geospatial with Snowflake Cortex Agents. Over to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jaden. Let me just share my screen. All right, thank you for that introduction, Jaden. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dimmer. I'm a principal consultant at Versent, and I sit in the data and AI practice. And I'm here with Nick Burridge, one of our senior engineers. Today, we're excited to show you how we engineered an electric vehicle charging insight solution using Snowflake, powered by Cortex Agent. Cortex is Snowflake's AI and machine learning suite, all the features and services in the Snowflake ecosystem, including APIs. Last year, we worked with Cortex Analyst, and this year, we've taken the next step into the world of agents. As we go through this session, please feel free to drop any questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them if there's time at the end. Let's jump in. Here's what we'll cover today. Our journey with Cortex, where the agent fits in to the Snowflake AI architecture, the EV charging use case, the data powering it, and finally, how we partner with customers on Cortex Agent solutions. Last year, with Cortex Analyst, we built geospatial dashboards mapping traffic volume against incidents. We showed how natural language could turn straight into insights, and we showcased that at the Snowflake World Tour. This year, we've taken the next step into Cortex Agent, engineering an API orchestration that unifies analyst, search, and spatial functions. It's a move from visualization to orchestration. Here's where Cortex Agent fits inside the Snowflake AI stack. The agent sits at the top, passing intent, deciding whether to run SQL, search unstructured text, or generate a chart, plus the ability to orchestrate all these tools. This is how we position the work, a Versent engineered Cortex Agent solution that takes complex geospatial data and turns it into trusted insights fast. This has been the foundation of our Snowflake Cortex Agent build, and now I'll show you how it comes to life in a real use case. Our use case is focused on electric vehicle charging. Specifically, we wanted to explore two things: the coverage of EV chargers across the road network and the customer feedback that comes with using those chargers. Use case, exploring EV charger coverage and customer feedback using Cortex Agent. This is where Cortex Agent comes in. The agent orchestrates across the tools using Cortex Search to pull insights from customer reviews, and Cortex Analyst is to deliver data-driven insights from the charger and road network data. Together, this allows us to show not just where the chargers are, but how customers experience them, making geospatial intelligence much more accessible to the business. We're powering Cortex with real-world EV data. On the left is the model we used, Meta Llama 3.1-70B, a large language model. From our testing, this model worked best for our use case, though Snowflake supports many LLMs. In the middle, the instructions we gave it to set the context for the model. These instructions are: you are a helpful assistant for exploring Australian electric vehicle charging data. If you cannot answer based on the available data, suggest how the user can rephrase their query. By defining these instructions, we guided the agent to only respond with insights based on the inputs we provided. On the right are those inputs and functions. EV charger locations and the road network datasets came from Snowflake Marketplace. The Google reviews input was extracted, and we used Snowflake spatial functions to process the geospatial data. These are what the agent works with when it comes to generating insights. With that foundation, I'll hand over to Nick to take a deeper dive into the solution and we'll walk through the demo.
Thanks, Dimmer. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas, a senior engineer in the data practice. Before I dive into the demo, I want to set the stage with a quick look at the solution we've built and how it works at a high level. This slide shows the basic flow. So on the left, we have the user who asks a question in natural language. That question is entered through a Streamlit app hosted on AWS, providing a chat-like interface. From there, the request is passed to Cortex Agent inside Snowflake via the APIs. It interprets the question, works out what needs to be done, and then connects to the right data. So in our case, the geospatial dataset. And finally, the answer comes back to the user as valuable insights. That could be a table of results, a chart, or a text summary, depending on the nature of the question. This provides a seamless way for anyone in the business to interact with complex datasets without needing to know the SQL or the data model. It enables faster insights, reduces the dependencies on analysts, and make data accessible in a format that feels natural and easy to use. So now that you've seen the big picture, I want to spend a moment on a couple of the Cortex services that enable the Cortex agent to act and make decisions. So let's zoom into the Cortex components that make the solution work. So at the top is the Cortex agent. You can think of this as the brain of the decision making. But before I get into the agent, I just want to highlight a couple of the other services it relies on. So in our custom setup, it has two main tools. The first is Cortex Analyst. This Snowflake service for working with structured data. Its strength is that it understands the schema, the tables, and the relationships we define, which means it can generate SQL on the fly and translate a plain English question into a query. So it's essentially what allows users to explore complex data without knowing the SQL. This is what we use to retrieve information from our EV chargers dataset. The second is Cortex Search. So this service is built for unstructured data, and its value is in understanding meaning rather than just keywords. It uses embeddings to perform semantic search, so users can ask questions in their own words and still get relevant results from a large volume of text. So we use this to search through text regarding reviews about our charging stations. So analyst and search are the enablers. That's what allows the agent to translate plain English into SQL or to pull insights from unstructured text. Now that we've covered the Cortex services, I just want to zoom out and show you how the agent pulls these services together into a complete workflow. Think of the agent as an orchestrator. Its job isn't just to respond, it's to plan out the journey from the question to the answer, step by step. So the first is to understand the question. The agent parses the natural language, identifies the intent, and works out whether it's a kind of request that needs structured data through SQL or unstructured data through text search. From there, it moves to plan and decide. This is where the intelligence really sits. So the agent evaluates the request and chooses the most appropriate tool. So Cortex Analyst, if it's a structured SQL query, or Cortex Search, if it needs to mine unstructured text. This step is about decision making. So the agent chooses the tool that's best for the question. Once the plan is set, the next step is to generate and execute. So if it's structured, Analyst writes and runs SQL in Snowflake. If it's unstructured, Search uses embeddings to find the most relevant chunks of text. Either way, the agent stays in control, coordinating the steps and keeping track of the flow. The fourth stage is process and refine. Here, the agent makes sure the output is shaped into something meaningful. That could mean ranking the top 30 results or summarizing multiple reviews into a clear takeaway. And finally, the agent visualizes and responds. So this is where the answer is delivered back to the user. So whether that's the table, a text summary, or a chart. And the format is chosen to make the insight clear, actionable, and easy to interpret by the agent. Now, let's jump into a demo. Now that we've looked at how the agent works and the data behind it, let's see it in action. We'll start with a structured data question. What are the top 30 charging stations closest to Sydney CBD? The agent looks at the nature of this question and decides that the best approach is to use Cortex Analyst. It plans out the steps, generates a SQL, executes it in Snowflake, and returns the results as a clean ranked table. As you can see, the chatbot also shows its thinking process and the steps it's taken, along with the SQL that was generated, which is very powerful for transparency and trust. Next, let's try a different type of question to see unstructured data in action. Summarize what users are saying about charges in Byron Bay. This time, the agent chooses Cortex Search. It looks through the review text data with chunked and embedded, finds the most relevant passages, and summarizes them in a concise natural language answer. And importantly, it also provides reference citations, so you can see exactly which reviews were used to form the response. Again, reinforcing trust and reliability. And finally, one last example to show another capability, visualization. In this case, the agent not only queries the data, but decides to present the results as a chart. That way, we don't just get numbers in a table, we get a visual summary that makes the insight easier to interpret at a glance. So in these three examples, you can see the agent dynamically switching between tools, Analyst, Search, and even Visualization, all in real time, based entirely on the question being asked. It's a flexible, adaptive system that makes interacting with complex data feel natural and straightforward. So when it comes to structured data, the key is how we prepare the EV charges dataset. So rather than pointing the AI at an entire database, we've defined exactly what tables to use, gave each column a clear description, and provided examples of valid queries. So this setup gives the system the context it needs to interpret a plain English question and translate it into SQL. So for this demo, we've shown it working with EV charging stations, but Geospatial is one flavor of structured data. So a definite example might be something like mapping bushfire incidents to the nearest emergency response centers, where you need to combine locations with distances to make better informed decisions. And importantly, this isn't limited just to geospatial use cases. The same setup could be applied to retail data, where you may want to compare the sales across different store locations or logistics data, such as analyzing delivery performance across regions. What makes this custom interface powerful is that we maintain governance and security by controlling which tables and fields are exposed. But at the same time, we're empowering users to get answers instantly without needing to know the SQL or the data model. So for unstructured data, the agent uses Cortex Search, what Snowflake describes as a high-quality fuzzy search, to surface the most relevant information. In our demo, we apply this to charger station review text. To make that searchable, we broke the reviews into smaller chunks and generated embeddings for each piece. Cortex Search then uses those embeddings to make the meaning of the user's question against the text, not just the exact words. So this capability can be applied well beyond EV reviews. So for example, in customer service, it could search across call center transcripts to summarize common issues. In healthcare, it could analyze patient feedback to identify recurring themes. Or legal and compliance. So it could scan through large document sets to quickly pull relevant sections. So along with structured data, the custom interface is able to cut through large volumes of text and still return clear answers. So far, we've shown how the solution works. But what really makes it unique is that it's a custom approach. So rather than being locked into an out-of-the-box tool, the custom solution gives us the flexibility to shape it around the business needs and the ability to grow it over time. So the first benefit is guardrails. So the custom approach means we decide what data is at play and how it's used. So that gives confidence that the answers are dependable and compliant. The second is being agnostic. So with the custom solution, we're not limited to a single data set or domain. The same pattern can adapt to finance, HR, or customer feedback data without having to start again each time. Third is optimization. So by controlling the framework, we can learn how it's used and improve the responses. So in other words, the more the solution is used, the more valuable it becomes. And finally, it's about being integrated. So a custom build can plug into existing business systems and evolve as new tools and technologies come along. That makes it flexible and future ready, instead of locked into someone else's roadmap. So the benefit of going custom is really about the control, optimization, and integration. But when it comes to the business value, we think about the benefits in two key areas. So the first, empowering the business. So this solution delivers insights in seconds instead of days. It also gives everyone the ability to ask questions without needing SQL. And it can drive better decision-making with visual, data-driven answers. Second is building for scale and trust. So we've designed this as a repeatable pattern that can be applied across new data domains And because it's built around Snowflake, the results are reliable, secure, and ready for business use. Now I'll pass it back to Dimmer to talk about what's next. You're just on mute, Dimmer.
Thanks, Nick, for taking us through the deep dive and demo. Now, what's next is really about how we partner with customers. We start by discovering high-value use cases and co-design them across industries and domains. From there, we engineer Cortex Agent solutions using Snowflake, embedding governance, security, and performance so they're production ready. Now, finally, we enable customer teams to adopt and scale so these solutions expand into new business areas, deliver long-term value. This is how Versent works hand in hand with customers to make Cortex Agent real. And to support this kind of discovery and co-design with our customers, we also run a 4-day agentic experience workshop, a fast way to prototype Cortex Agent use cases and build a roadmap. Thank you for joining us today. You've seen how we engineered a Cortex Agent solution to make geospatial data actionable and how we help customers turn these ideas into outcomes. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please reach out to us at our email, ai@versent.com.au, or connect with Nick or I on LinkedIn. We'd love to explore how Cortex Agents could unlock value for your business. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Dima and Nick. We've got a few questions in the chat by Simon Coe. I think it was lightly touched on, but if you were to say, what prompts and context did you provide to the agent to allow it to generate SQL on structured data based on user query?
Yeah, so in terms of the prompt, it was kind of just a very, I guess, general prompt. We gave it just the basic kind of guidelines of what we wanted to kind of get returned. But I think in terms of the context, which I covered in one of the slides, which I think you've followed up on, it really comes down to when you're setting up the Cortex Analyst, is just how you frame your tables and the columns that you're using. Sometimes we removed a couple columns because it kind of confused the agent in terms of it generating SQL. So you can kind of play around with, what you expose in what case. So that was that. I'll just keep continuing on because I think there's a few questions about this. So in terms of monitoring the correctness of the SQL generated by the agent, we kind of figured out, a few use cases that the users will be asking, and within Snowflake and I guess the data model that you're setting up, you can run SQLs against it. So this in terms of, what I talked about with valid queries. So you can essentially like approve or mark, I guess, to the Cortex Analyst that certain queries are correct. And it kind of helps guide the generation of the SQL. There is another feature as well, which we didn't add into this solution, but as part of probably one of the next iterations of it, is that there's a new feature called feedback and also threads in Snowflake, which allows it's better chat history, monitoring, and the feedback. It means the users are able to provide feedback if the query that was generated was appropriate or not. So I guess those are the ways that we kind of control the SQL generation. And in terms of deciding the chunk size to ensure the search quality, that was a lot of trial and error in terms of, I think it's kind of based on the text, but for the review data, say, if the chunk size was too big, it would kind of get confused and pull in reviews from other charging stations nearby. So you had to kind of chunk it in to the size of what the reviews were. And that's kind of just, yeah, a bit of trial and error, I think, in that case.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. If you have any further questions, reach out to the guys at their emails on screen or at their LinkedIns. If you're interested in booking a workshop, you can fill out the form by scanning the QR code on the screen or reach us at ai@versent.com.au. So what's next in the series? We still have 2 weeks to go. Next week, week 9, the 9th of October, our speaker, Jade Kerr, Senior Analyst in the Digital and AI Practice, on his talk, Optimizing SQL with AI, How Prompt SQL Makes Queries Smarter. In other upcoming sessions, we'll dive into topics like accelerating RFP and tender responses with AI RAG chatbots and how to build secure, scalable AI systems. So keep an eye on your inbox for the next 2 weeks. Thanks again for being part of the Versent AI webinar series. We look forward to helping you unlock the full potential of AI safely, ethically, and with impact. Have a great day, and we will see you next time. Thanks all.
Cheers.